Alright, so today we're doing a quick overview of the Rega Brio Mk7 amplifier. And what you need to know about Rega Brio is that this product has actually been around since 1991. We're in 2025 now, so that's 34 years of continuous production. And what we have here is the Mk7 iteration of the Brio line, which was released at the end of the 2024. So it's still quite new to the market. It currently retails at £799 here in the UK, which is a little bit more expensive than the previous Mk6 version, but there are some solid reasons for the price increase, and I will touch on that later. Now, here at Premium Sound, we're big fans of Rega products. So the Rega Brio is always available at demonstration at our showroom, but what I really wanted to cover in this video is why this amp is such a great option for many audiophiles out there, because the Brio Mk7 is indeed a truly audiophile grade product. Now, when we talk about Rega products in general, the most important thing that you need to understand is the philosophy behind how Rega products are made. Rega has a few core principles when it comes to product development, but the most important thing is this: engineering first, not marketing driven. So this basically means that Rega makes their products based exclusively on engineering principles and real-world performance, and not on marketing trends or unnecessary features. Now, avoiding unnecessary features is the key idea here, and that really shines through across the entire product range, and this Rega Brio is no exception to that principle. You can take a look at a lot of other competing amplifiers out there, like Cambridge Audio, Denon, Marantz, and others in the same space, and you'll often see them packed with all sorts of features, trying to offer as much as possible at a competitive price. And many of those features are things that you might never actually use. So Rega, with their product lineup, takes a different path, because instead of trying to do everything, they focus on doing the essentials really well. So if we take a typical amplifier at this price point, what you'll often see is a whole bunch of extra features like Bluetooth connectivity, expensive screens, multiple speaker outputs for running more than one pair of speakers, tone controls, and all sorts of bells and whistles. The point is, when you're buying an amp that includes all of that, you're also paying for it. And every extra feature, like a Bluetooth module, for example, costs money to design and build into the unit. So those features can be useful if you actually need them. But if those features are just sitting there unused, you're essentially just covering the cost of the final price tag. And that's where Rega takes a smarter route, by focusing purely on performance and cutting out anything that isn't essential to the sound. So what you'll find with the Brio is a no-frills amplifier that's intentionally built with only the necessary inputs in mind, because the design mantra at Rega is very much less is more. Now, there is an Phono stage on board, of course, as Rega is primarily known for their turntables, so it's naturally assumed that you'll be pairing one of their amps with their turntables. And apart from that, historically, there would only be analog inputs on the Brio, making it a pure analog amp. But with the Brio Mk7, they introduced digital inputs in form of a coaxial input and an optical input. So no HDMI or anything like that, and it's done simply because you're assumed to be able to connect your TV or a digital source to this amp, and this is pretty much it. Now, having digital inputs essentially means that there is a DAC in this amplifier. The choice of the DAC that they've integrated is also quite interesting, because they've gone with the Wolfson DAC, which is a company based in Scotland, so it's not one of the companies based in the Far East, such as ESS or AKM, which can typically be found on some of the amps made in China. But the choice of the Wolfson is also something that follows Rega's core principles, and that is source locally, support local businesses, and avoid typical markups and long logistical chains that come with components from overseas. And this is exactly what makes this amplifier stand out from the competition, as most, if not all, of the components are sourced right here in the UK, and the amplifier itself is fully made in the UK as well. And yet, it retails for £799, which is not something you typically see with UK-made products, obviously. Because at this price point, most other amps are usually manufactured in China, Malaysia, or somewhere else overseas. What I want to mention as well is that this price of $799 is extremely competitive, as we, as a retailer, source the product directly from Rega's factory. So there is no distributor markup, and if you look out for this product anywhere else, for example in Europe, it will be 20 or 30% more expensive. And not to mention other countries where tariffs or whatever other nonsense can or may apply. And there is also a lifetime warranty on all of the Rega products, which really says a lot about the confidence they have in their build quality. So when you're buying a Rega product, you're not just making a casual purchase, you're actually making a long-term investment, and the product will not lose its value for years. As if something goes wrong with the product, let's say 10 years down the line, you'll still be able to claim that lifetime warranty and repair it free of charge. Now, to summarize everything above in regards to Rega and their proposition, it is very clear. Their products are made in the UK, they're very competitively priced as costs are kept to a minimum due to the way Rega chooses to source components from their suppliers, there's a lifetime warranty, and their products are typically made for those who want to achieve the best sound in their system in the most economical way possible. This entirely applies to the new Brio Mk7 as well. So what do we have here? Now, speaking of the unit itself, it is very compact, so you'll be able to put it literally anywhere in your room, and it doesn't take much space. It is not a particularly wide amp, as you can see, but it is fairly deep, and that said, if you're already running a power supply for a turntable or any other components, you'll probably find it pretty easy to fit into your setup, or even tuck it neatly into a cupboard. It is a standard Class AB amplifier, which is the design that worked well for years, and it is rated at 50 watts per channel into 8 ohms, which means that it will be able to drive most speakers with ease, unless your speakers are ultra low on the sensitivity. And once again, that's pretty much all you need if you don't want to overpay for that extra unnecessary power, and if you don't want to throw super loud parties or discos or whichever other loud events. Now, this is exactly the same 50 watt per channel power amplifier that we saw in the previous iterations of the Brio. But Rega has made some meaningful upgrades by changing some of the internal components. And what you'll find on the Mk7 amp is a relayed circuit board, which in turn improves performance and reduces distortion. And Rega has put in some serious engineering hours to refine the internal design, focusing on better isolation between components and the higher current sections of the amp. As a result, you do indeed get better performance, and with 50 watts per channel, you're well covered, so plenty of headroom for most listening situations. Now, as for the sound, I have had this amp running for a couple of days, and I have to say that compared to the competition, the sound is what really makes this amp stand out, because you're not paying for the flashy features, you're not paying for a screen, you're not paying for extra inputs and other unnecessary frills. What you're paying for is decades of experience from Rega and their team of engineers. And this amp does absolutely what it's supposed to do, and that is delivering a proper hi-fi experience. It is not a fancy gadget, so it's probably not something that's going to wow your friends just by how it looks. But if you truly care about sound quality, and sound is what is important to you, then this product is probably for you. The sound this unit delivers is very dynamic, full of musicality, with plenty of natural warmth and clarity, and this is what you typically find on other Rega products as well. So their sound signature is clearly maintained on this new Brio Mk7 as well. Now, some people might raise an eyebrow at the use of the Wolfson DAC in the Brio Mk7, because it's not something you commonly see in the hi-fi gear these days. To be honest, the last time I personally came across a Wolfson DAC was in an iPod that I had about 12 years ago, or on other Rega products and amplifiers as well. But it is important to understand that the DAC isn't really the star of the show here. Yes, it's been added to give the amp a bit more versatility, but let's be real, most people who are serious about streaming music will likely be using an external streamer anyway, and those usually come with their own DAC built in. So if you're into high-res streaming, you can absolutely pair this amp with a separate DAC. And what I really want to emphasize, that it's not about the DAC, it's about the amp. And the amp itself is brilliant. It'll work absolutely beautifully with whatever source you decide to use. And you can always compare the onboard DAC with the one on your external device to see what sounds best to your ear. I also want to say a few words about the built-in Phono stage, because this is one of the key things you're actually paying for with the Brio Mk7. Now, I don't know the exact components Rega uses in the onboard Phono stage here, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say that it is based on their Rega Mk7 Phono stage, which on its own retails for around £230. Now, of course, having a separate Phono stage will improve the overall sound quality of your system, but the one built into the Brio Mk7 is indeed remarkable, and it is definitely better than the ones you'll find built into some of the turntables or even other amps at this price point. And again, I can only assume that this is due to the fact that Rega is a company that specializes in analog sound reproduction, so naturally this amp is designed with vinyl playback in mind, and you're really meant to be using this amp with a turntable. That said, if you are planning to use a streamer with this amp, then no problem. You can easily connect something like a WIM or a Blue Sound streamer, and it is likely to give you a step up in the overall performance if you're planning to play your music in the digital domain. But the key point is this: with the Brio Mk7, most of what you're paying for is the amp itself, as it's not bloated with features, it's just designed to sound great. And in that sense, it absolutely outperforms many of the more feature-packed alternatives out there. So that's pretty much it on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This wasn't a full-on review, but more of a general recommendation and a few thoughts on the Brio Mk7. And overall, I just want to say that this is a really solid product, and the analog section of this amp in particular is outstanding. In any case, the amp is available at our store Premium Sound, so if you're interested in hearing it for yourself, feel free to get in touch and book a demo, as the Brio Mk7 will be permanently available in our showroom. And if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more hi-fi content. Until then, see you next time.